Hello, everyone. How are you? We are back. We are back. We are back. This is the TERRAN Lamp Show, a show where we interview people each week, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. We interview everyday people just like you with amazing stories. This is the TERRAN Lamp Show, episode number 52. Thank you so much for joining me each and every week here. Like I said, Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to hear amazing stories. Make sure you are going to my YouTube channel and subscribing. Make sure you are checking out prior episodes. Make sure I've now created a podcast. So that's something I did during my time off because I took a little self-care break the past 2 weeks. But I've now created a podcast for the TERRAN Lamp Show. So you can find us on the podcast venues. You can find us on my Instagram TV, and you can find me on YouTube at I Am TERRAN Lamp. So make sure you're going to all those channels. Make sure if you have a story, and we know you do, that you get in contact with me. I would love to have you here on the show. And if you know someone who has a story, I would love to have them on the show as well. Just hook us up, send us a DM, direct message. If you have my cell phone number, send us a text message. Just connect us and I will take it from there. Again, this is the TERRAN Lamp Show, episode number 52, and our guest is ready. Let's get it started. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Let's get it started. Renee. Thank you so much for coming on today, Renee. Let's get it started. I think there you are.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm great. How are you, beautiful?
Good. Thank you so much for your time today. You look gorgeous.
Oh,
I love the glasses. I'm loving
thank you. I was going back and forth. I didn't know if I should put on these or the other ones. I was like, oh, no. These are, okay, I'll do these.
Those are perfect.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This is, again, the TERRAN Lamp Show, episode number 52. Renee has got an amazing story, so I want to jump right in. It is unbelievable. Please make sure you stay on for the full 30 minutes and hear what she has. You know, when she told me, I got goosebumps. So stick around. Renee, tell us your journey, sweetheart.
I guess I should have waited if I didn't know we were going to do this as quickly as we did this, huh? You could have been surprised. Now you
I
know.
I know. I was like, oh man, yeah. But I'm gonna be surprised again because it's unbelievable. So
well, thanks again for having me, TERRAN. It's a pleasure to actually see you, and I'm talking to you in person. Well, not in person, but via social media. Thank you so much.
We'll see
my name is
soon, I think.
What you say?
We're gonna see each other soon in real life.
Yes, very soon. In a couple weeks, as a matter of fact. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Most definitely. So, my name is Yolanda Renee, but everybody calls me Renee. I actually go by the pen name Y Renee. I'm a trauma recovery coach. I am a 15-year domestic abuse survivor, 4-time suicide attempt survivor, and I also survived being gunned down, shot 4 times in my lower back. Be 13 years December of this year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really
what gives me bumps. Just that. We can be like right there.
You want to start right there?
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So, yeah, I'm thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. I've been sharing my story officially now. I think it'll be 7 years in August. I did tell a couple people about being shot when it first happened because nobody really knew about my domestic abuse. The domestic abuse, I began telling that story when I lost a good girlfriend of mine 4 months after I was shot. She was gunned down by her children's father. And 6 years later, her sister decided to do a domestic violence walk in her honor. And I began to share my story there because nobody really knew about the abuse. It was something I still kept secret. Nobody really knew. It wasn't until my ex-husband threw me out of my home that he started telling people, because he wanted me to come back, didn't know what to do, was telling people, well, I know I've been abusing her. She's probably not going to come back. And that's when everything started kind of unfolding. Now, I do have to give the disclaimer. I was shot 2 months and 2 days after my ex-husband threw me out of my home, but my ex-husband was not my assailant. My assailant has never been found. basically it was, instead of attempted murder, it was deemed aggravated battery with a firearm. And I still have to, I forget over the years, I looked it up at first to see what the actual difference was. And to me, it wasn't really a difference, or it should have been attempted murder because the person didn't take anything from me. They weren't trying to rob me. They actually, I believe they actually literally came to assassinate me. And again, it was not my ex-husband. Do I believe it was possible that he had something to do with it? Yes, of course, that's my truth, and that's what I walk in. Other people may beg to differ, but that's just what, that's just me. That's what I say. So anytime I tell my story, that's something I do definitely put out there.
You're getting some
And
comments already.
I'm sorry.
You're getting
Hey, beautiful. Yes, it is. It's a hidden secret. So many people hide, and that's one reason why I started my organization. I do have a organization called For My Voice Matters, for the number of times I was shot. My voice matters because I promised God that since I lost my voice before, once I got it back, I would never lose it again. And I will also be the voice for others. So those people who feel like they don't have anybody to talk to, I'm available for that. For people who want to learn how to come out of it safely, of course, I'm there for that. For people who are out of it, but they still don't feel comfortable talking just to anybody, or if they need resources, then I'm that connector. What I do is I do look for different shelters or organizations that actually have professional counseling, people that actually have the degree behind their names, and I set them up with those things. Me, myself, personally, I feel, no, I do not have MSW behind my name. No, I do not have a doctor in front of my name. However, I feel that I've gone to the school of hard knocks, and I have enough experience under my belt, being that I survived all of these things, that I'm an expert in those matters when it comes to talking to people from my point of view. And what that means is sometimes people, when they go talk to people professionally, that connection isn't always there because most professionals, truth be told, have no clue what we actually go through traumatically to where we can speak on it. So for me, I'm that voice of reason, or I'm that sounding board, because you could actually come to me and I may not know exactly what you feel at that time because your feelings are different from my feelings, but I can empathize with you because I've been through something traumatic like you. So that's what I do too, as far as coaching people through traumatic instances. Because trauma never really goes away. What happens is we suppress it, we hide it, we avoid it, do whatever have you, until a trigger occurs, which causes us to kind of revert back, get stuck, maybe deal with depression again, maybe not want to come out of our houses again. So what my job is as a trauma recovery coach is to help you identify whatever is triggering you at that moment or from that trauma. And I give you steps and tools that you would need to overcome whenever the trigger occurs. And the best instance I give is I give two instances. I usually use car accidents or I use death. When we talk about car accidents, let's just say, TERRAN, we both have accidents on the same day. Your accident, though, is in the middle of an intersection, or they're both in the middle of intersections. Okay, just different streets, different times. The next day, you get up, you don't think anything of it, but you drive back through that intersection, and all of a sudden, your heart starts palpitating. You feel some kind of way. You got to pull over. You decide to go down another street or whatever have you. The whole scene flashed before your eyes again. You got triggered. Me, I get up, I get in my car, and I can't move. I just refuse to drive. And those things in life will have us to a place called stuck. And we really can't function like that. As much as we may want to go back in the house, throw the covers over our head and just forget about it. You know, most of us are working people, mothers, aunts, take care of elderly people. We have jobs to do, and we can't afford to just stop in life because something triggered us. So it's my job to help you figure out what that trigger is and figure out how we could get you to maneuver past it by breathing exercises, by memory recall, by visiting the places where the trauma, if you can visit the place of trauma again, just basically, just baby steps. I'm not talking about trying to thrust you totally into it, but just take baby steps. So that's the stuff that I do.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many questions, and I know we have like only 30 minutes, because my first thought I thought to myself was, you survived all this and you could have done one of two things. You could have just stopped there and said, I survived it. Here, I'm done. Put it behind me, move on, which you've done. But where did you get the strength from to now do this for others and actually take it the next, the step further to become a recovery coach? Because I feel like, each time that you share your story, you told me the other day that you could, you could either be sad and, do all these things, or you can kind of like be positive about it and turn it around. And how did you get that confidence? Because I'm mad for you. Like I said, my goosebumps came, my pistivity came, all that, if that's a word.
Yes, it's a word.
That confidence. And when did you have that moment where you're like, I'm going to turn this around because I can't do this? Because I don't know where that comes from. Annette is on and says,
hey, Annette, it's my sissy. Hey, Annette, love you.
My friend says hello. And Melinda says the School of Surviving and Thriving.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Okay, so your question is, how do I remain positive, or when did I decide to make it a positive thing?
I mean, you had to have a moment where you're like,
I still have them. But here we go, TERRAN. First of all, it took me 6 years to tell my story. That's first thing, to tell the full story. Now, people that were in my immediate circle, I actually was going to get professional help at the time, things like that. People that were close to me, they knew what was going on, because those were my support system of people who, when I finally felt comfortable enough telling them some of the stuff that I had been through, I decided to do it. When this young lady's sister asked me to be a part of her domestic violence walk in honor of her sister, that's when I first told my story. So I told my story. And I posted on Facebook and YouTube, and I had like 70,000 views between Facebook and YouTube within 48 hours. From that, people began to inbox me. People began to congratulate me. People began to comment, "Oh Lord, I did not know. Oh Lord, do we have to go get him now?" Just like you felt like your anger. Who do we get? Who would he go after? So for me, that my life coach, because I do have a life coach myself, my life coach, my pastor, my best friend, she and her husband took me out to dinner. They're both my best friends, but they took me out to dinner and they sat down and they tricked me. They basically said, "Hey, let's have this conversation." And we were eating and we were having a good time. And then all of a sudden it was like they snap of the finger. They got really, really serious. Like, okay, so what are you going to do with this? And I'm like, do with what? And they were like, do what everything that everybody's coming to you for. They're talking to you, this, that, and other. I'm like, I'm not going to do nothing. I did my part. I told my story. That's it. No shit else, So they were like, no, you have to do more for it. So that's how the organization was founded. Okay. And then I have to go back because I'm a woman of great faith. And I had to, and it didn't come up till after my mother passed away, but I had actually journaled. And that's why the power of affirmations, the power of journaling, the power of speaking words, because biblically speaking, the Bible says the power of death and life is in the tongue. That's whether you write it, whether you speak it, or write it, think it, or whatever have you. And so when I wrote in my journal, like 3 or 4 months after I had came out the hospital, talking about I wanted to start an organization, I wanted to reconnect with the old love, and I wanted to get married. I did a whole bunch of stuff in that journal. And to see that God is actually doing all of it, even me reconnecting with the person that I love, and we're possibly, we may or may not get married, but we're planning on walking out the rest of this journey together. And the organization starting, and things that I put down what I want the organization to do. Now, mind you, I've wavered back and forth a couple times, like, I don't want all this on my shoulder. But being able to help other people has always been a passion. I'm a servant at heart. Even in ministry and churches, I was always serving, not even trying to be in the forefront, not trying to grab a microphone, not trying to preach. So this whole public speaking, writing a book, all this stuff came later, even though people feel I have the personality for it. I'm really an introvert, extrovert. I would prefer to stay behind the scenes and do much of nothing. But this allowed me to talk and tell it more. And I think one thing I said to you on the phone, which was really an epiphany sometime, I think this year, or last year, I wasn't really talking about my suicide attempts because I didn't want, just like with domestic violence, I didn't want anybody to judge me. I didn't want anybody to look at me like, oh, well, your life is this, that, and the other. Because a lot of times when people are talking about, or when they're considering suicide, some people will say they think it's selfish, but people with mental illness or mental health problems, it's not about being selfish. It depends on what's going on at the time. Me personally, my own journey was in my adolescence, I think I did it not realizing that I had life to live in my adolescence, because I did. I tried twice in my adolescence. And I think that I did not know what life was. And just, I felt like the world was coming to it. It was just so hard because people didn't like me. I was bullied. I was the darkest thing. I was Blackie. I was called out my name so many times. I was fat. Just a whole bunch of stuff that would cause me to just not really want to be bothered with people. After I got past that in high school, or further, like freshman college years or whatever have you, the last 2 times was actually within my marriage. Now, within my marriage, my reasoning was because I felt that if I was gone, because he began to threaten my family too. So I felt like if I'm gone, then I'm the common denominator. I really don't want. Hey, it's my brother Donovan. I love you.
Jonathan also said your story is meant to help others. This is good. I'm here for it. And hello, Donovan.
Thank you. So when I did in my marriage, my thing was I was trying to save my people, because if he was crazy enough to already play Russian roulette with my head, if he was already crazy enough to beat me where my face was disfigured, where I couldn't go to work most times, if he was crazy enough to keep me in a bondage place and isolate me from my family and friends, who knew what he might actually do to my family? And when you're in that your thought process is that. So my thought process was, okay, well, if I take myself out the equation and I'm done, then he wouldn't have a reason to do anything to my family, because I was the reason why he was going to do something to them. So my reason for taking myself out during that time was something totally different. But what I was saying was, one of the reasons why I bounce back, and one of the reasons why I think that I'm so positive, and one of the reasons why I keep talking the way I talk is because of this. If I, Yolanda Renee Cooper, born in the city of Chicago, Illinois, attempted to take my own life 4 times and failed, and then somebody else had the audacity to come back and try to kill me after that, and they failed, then who am I not to share my story? God has me here for a purpose and a reason. And there's no other reason than for me to help others come out of situations like my own. So one of the reasons why I started talking about the suicide, though, was it'll be 3 years in September, but my significant other and I, unfortunately, his baby girl took her life for being bullied and some other reasons that we found out. But however, it devastated us so much to the fact that in January of that following year, I asked his permission, along with her older sister, who's now part of my board, if they would mind if I did a branch of For My Voice Matters in her honor. So I do, it's For My Voice Matters, and then I have a branch, or just a branch for TAB. It's for Trinity Ann Banks. It's called TAB, Talk About Bullying, is what the acronym stands for as well. And it started in 19, which was when we were going to start doing stuff. And I did a couple things. I did a walk or something like that, but I wanted to do more things with children and youth. But then now the pandemic happened, so I had to scale back and try to figure out something else. So as soon as the world opens back up fully, I make some connections with some school systems around here, whether it be inside the city of Chicago or the suburban area. I would love to be able to go in and talk to some of these young kids, not just about suicide prevention, because we lost quite a few kids in 2018, I'm sorry, in our area to suicide. But I also want to talk about domestic abuse, because it starts young. So it's a learned behavior as well. But not only do I want to talk to the victim, or say the survivor, I need to get in touch with some of these perpetrators, because if I don't get to the perpetrator to help them understand why it's wrong, what's going on, why are they abusing, was it learned in their home, did they learn it from a movie, do they just think something better of that? If we don't stop the perpetrator, I can help a victim all day long. I can help a survivor survive, and they can move on and be better and never meet another perpetrator again, per se. But if I don't go back and reach back for that perpetrator, then that perpetrator will just find another victim. So those are the things that For My Voice book is
good. I mean, it's clearly obvious and not obvious all at the same time, because I think that we don't, well, I mean, I didn't think about that until you said it, but it's clearly obvious when you say it,
Nobody thinks about it.
We need to go back to almost the source. I mean, if that's what you could call it,
right.
Source. It's more like, I like the perpetrator better, because I feel like that really describes what it is as opposed to the source. But I think that's so. I'm just trying to envision that. Like, that's a lot of heart you have to go find them. The
That's if
perpetrator.
they want to be found. The problem is most perpetrators are narcissistic people, so they don't think that they have problems. It's
But
not usually until
to
they come
want
through
to
the penal
find
system.
that group,
right,
takes a lot of heart, takes a lot of power, takes a lot of courage. Because I wouldn't want to find. I don't think I don't know, but right now in my brain, I'm like, nah, I'm cool on that. You know. So I think that
you
in
know,
itself should be applauded.
I
Because
guess the reason why is hurt people, TERRAN, and we
yeah.
have to look at if we're supposed to be a society of humanity, if we're supposed to be a society of help, if we're supposed to be a society to make a better society, then those people that are doing stuff, whether it be gangbangers, whether it be abusers, things that there's something that happened. And this is where also trauma recovery comes in, because a lot of these people had traumatic instances as a kid, which causes them to be abusers, because again, domestic abuse is a learned behavior. Just like I feel racism is a learned behavior, and anything that you know that you have to do, it becomes a learned behavior. So when it comes to abuse situations, it's not just victims that may, because sometimes victims too, they come from abusive relationships, relationship homes, or abusive homes, where they feel that that's really love. That's the only model of love that they have. So when they go out into the real world, if somebody's not abusing them, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically, verbally, or spiritually, then they feel that they're not being loved. Somebody needs to give them a real, true definition, and not just words, but actions of love, because they see love as something different. Same thing with a perpetrator. If they grow up in a house where either their mother or their father being abusive, then they are the same thing. And again, as you notice, I have not said male or female in any of this, because abusers are both females. I've known, I've had at least 3 men come across my path that have been honest enough to tell me that they were abused by women. And it may not be physical, but the fact being that they mentally tried to mess them up or whatever have you, it's still the same thing, because it causes them not to trust women in other relationships. It causes them to break down and think that they're not a man, and and then they feel some kind of way about themselves. So I look at the entire spectrum of everything. And then sometimes some women, for real, seriously, they become abusers after being abused by their abuser, because they promise they'll never be abused again. So their actions now is they feel like they always have to have their guard up, and they always have to fight.
Yeah, all of it is just, like I said, unbelievable. I wanted to ask you, and just, from, if someone listens, or they're going to listen, a year from now, or 6 months from now, or 5 days from now, what advice would you give someone who, could be in their own situation? I mean, I know that could take a long, long time, but maybe you have 1 or 2 kind of points that you could, impart upon us, because, and as mad as I could be, or as all the questions I can have, there is someone there that's going through this, in real life. And so what advice would you maybe give them, and how would you encourage them, or how would you help them encourage themselves?
First and foremost, they have to make a decision. Somebody else can tell them all day long, you need to leave. If they're allowing people in, or people view or can tell that something's going on. But for me personally, nobody really knew, or they may have assumed, but I masked it enough not for them to be able to tell. But you have to be honest with yourselves, and you have to make a decision. And once you make the decision, you have to stick to the decision. Now, once the decision is made, my best advice is, whatever you do, you have to be calculating, and you have to be safe. Because if you aggravate an abuser by letting them know you leaving, and they're not ready for you to leave, it can escalate to serious, so much more worse than what it is. It just so happens, now that we're talking, my niece and I were here the other day, and a movie came on. It came out in 2004. It's called Enough with Jennifer Lopez, when she was abused by her person. So I kind of giggle at that movie now, because the worst thing, or the funniest thing that could ever happen, and it's really not funny, I'm just saying it's funny just as a sort of big quack, whatever. My ex-husband and I went and watched that movie together, because we were still together. And when we sit there watching it, and he's like, man, I don't understand how he could do that to her. And I'm sitting there like,
What?
And I asked him, I said, did you just say what I think you said? He was like, what? I don't. I was like, really? Denial. And then, of course, that ignited argument between us. Like we left the movie theater, like, with the big, like, he had the biggest attitude. Like, how dare I accuse him for treating me like the dude did in the picture? Because he doesn't feel he treated me that badly, which is all lies. But that's the mindset of a narcissist who just really wants to be in control and think they can do whatever they want to do. I hated that movie for so long, but now I can actually use that movie as a tool and show people what they can do and how to play safe. And even though that movie's a little bit more calculating because she had access to things that a lot of people don't have access to, the bottom line is you still have to make a plan. You have to follow a blueprint and make sure you have more than one way of escaping or different plans. You know, there should never just be a plan A. There should always be a plan A, B, C, or D, because you never know what's going to happen. And believe it or not, even though you feel like you have nobody you can confide in, there's always somebody you can. I don't know you from a can of paint, but if you're willing to get in touch with me and you think I can help you do something, by all means, contact me. If I don't have the resources to do whatever I need to do, then by all means, I'm going to do my best to find you somebody who can assist you. One of my biggest joys was this past year, I actually raised enough money with the help of Facebook family and friends and other people who are just connected to me to assist a woman that wanted to leave a state and move to another state. So we actually got to relocate somebody, which is one of my passions. That was something that I wrote in my journal too. So I call it the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Initiative. So if anybody wants to move from one state to another, you know, I just tell them to reach out and I'll do the best I can to try to make those things. And that's one of the things I did when I traveled in 2019 with my book tour. I toured with somebody on somebody else's tour with my book, excuse me. And I actually wanted to make connections in the cities that we're in, but time did not allow me to do that. So I just know that God will open another door some kind of way for me to be able to do that. But I was able to help somebody. So that made me feel awesome.
Yeah, you have you have such a powerful story. It's so funny. I bet if you go back to listen to some of my prior episodes, my word ratio is a lot more than it was with yours, because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know what to say. You know, I mean, I have all these questions and stuff that I think I'm going to say. And now I'm just like, what the heck? I mean, because it started when you kicked it off. I mean, if you are at the end of this, if you're listening and you weren't at the beginning of this, go back and listen to the beginning of this. Because it is
so you can see why TERRAN looks the way she looks.
Yeah. Like, oh my goodness. You know, because I just, like I said, I keep saying the word unbelievable because that's all I know. But I also think it's powerful. I think it's encouraging. I mean, it as tough as it is to hear, I think that, you know, you are giving so many people a voice, women or men. You're giving them probably opportunities that they didn't know they had for themselves, that you didn't know you had for yourself, you know, in the moments. And, you know, of course, I think it's just such a blessing that you know, survived and you're thriving. But most importantly, I think that you've turned it around and you're really helping others. Because I do think in life we're here to serve, and I'm a server as well, you know. And so I just admire you, I mean, for turning this unbelievableness into an opportunity to serve others and help other women and men, you know, recover from their trauma. Because like you said, I mean, I don't like the saying, but it's true, the hurt people saying. It's not something fun to think about, but it is true. So I commend you for turning your situation, pain, you know, whichever is the right word, into, you know, helping others. I do want to let people know we've got only like 1 minute left, believe it or not. But I want people to know how to get a hold of you.
Okay.
I want you to share what you have going on. There went my ring light. I don't know how to work technology like at all. But I want you to share everything that you want to share. And I want people to know how to get in contact with you and how to look up everything that you have. And I want you to tell everybody what you have going on.
Okay, well, let me just say this as well too, because I didn't put this in the part of the story, but I want to tell people that, like I said, I'm a woman of great faith. And one of the things that compels me to continue to tell my story is because, you know, when someone stands over you and shoots you 4 times, it's just amazing that I don't look like what I've been through. And like, basically the testimony is this, you know, I was shot 4 times. I was in surgery for 4.5 hours. All of my vital organs were hit except for my heart. They put a size of a quarter in my 12th vertebrae. They nicked my spinal cord where it rendered me paralyzed. I was paralyzed for only 2.5 days. I was up walking by the 5th day and out of the hospital by the 8th day. So again, I'm not trying to compel you to say that you got to believe in God. I'm not saying that, but for me, I know without a shadow of a doubt that if it was not for the God that I serve and believe in, that I would not be here. So I tell people all the time, no matter what you're going through, whatever higher power source you believe in, you need to plug in. And you need to plug in and see exactly what you need to be doing in life. Because again, if I tried to take my life 4 times and I failed, and somebody else tried to kill me and they failed, I know that every time I wake up in the morning, I take a breath, a deep breath, a short breath. I wake up from a nap. There's purpose in me to do something different. With that being said, TERRAN, I want to thank you for having me here. You can reach me on all social media platforms by Y Renee. Instagram is y.renee, and that's RENA, not RENEE. It's Y Renee.
Sorry.
That's okay. Look, no, I'm used to it, but I have to do this. So it's okay. My mom was a difficult human being. She decided to name me. She spelled both my names by other people's standards incorrectly. But
well,
you couldn't tell her. Look, you couldn't tell her that though. You tell her you spell my name wrong, she's gonna give you the business. But it's Y.Renee Cooper on Instagram. It's Y Renee Cooper. Is my business page on Facebook, but if you want to connect with me on my personal page, which I also just do business stuff on, it's just Renee Cooper. Again, that's RENA. LinkedIn, same thing. Y Renee Cooper. Twitter, YRENCOOPER1. What other social media? I'm on Clubhouse. You guys need to come on Clubhouse. Anybody not on Clubhouse? Get on Clubhouse. It's the best thing since sliced bread. TERRAN, you need to be on Clubhouse. It's another means of another social media. What do you call it? Podcast type thing. But
I'm on there. I have like a username, but have done like.
Let me tell you, get involved. I got to tell my story in Les Brown's room. When I tell you that there's power in Clubhouse, there's power in Clubhouse. Okay.
Funny too.
But I'll follow you. I'll get you involved. I'm gonna get you around.
Yeah, get me involved. You'll see I'm on there, but have done absolutely nothing.
I am a 3-time international best-selling author on Amazon. I have 2 books. The first book is Assassination Avoided, Destiny Defined. The second book, which Donovan gladly mentioned in the comments for me, is When Did I Stop Loving You? That's a journey about learning to love yourself again. Of course, the first book was about my survival of domestic abuse and being shot. I don't know if I'm going to write another book again. Everybody keep telling me I am, so we'll see. And so both of those are available on Amazon. But if you're interested, you can DM me, and I do autograph copies, and I can tell you how much those are, and I need your mailing address, and then you can tell me how you're going to pay me. So if you're interested in that, that's wonderful. Fine. I am the visionary, and I am the visionary of the Level Up Tour 2021. It's myself and 6 other fabulous women, and we all have stories to tell about life. But this particular conference is a bunch of workshops, and what we're doing is helping people get past a place called stuck in business or in ministry or wherever, and pull out the purpose in life, whether it be to be a better mom, whether it be to be a better father, because it's men and women are all invited. It's not just a women's thing, even though it's only women on the panel. I would have loved to have some men want to partner with me, but the way this came about is too long for me to tell right now. But we are actually in the city of Chicago in August 7th. We will be in Oak Brook, Illinois. There is information on my page, www.yreneecooper.com. If you go to the events page, you'll see it up there. Tickets are on sale now. We also have vendor opportunities. Again, it's in Oak Brook, Illinois. We had Houston in May, but we will be in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia in November. So that stuff will be forthcoming, of course, after the Chicago event. But anybody who's in the Chicagoland area, or heck, if you want to fly in, ask me for information about room rates and things like that. I got all of that for you. But we're looking to have a wonderful time. Like I said, we're doing 7 fabulous workshops, and we will do some laser coaching with you all. And we're just looking to have a good time. So August 7th, the Doubletree Oak Brook again. That information is on my Facebook page, my Instagram page, and also my website. I don't think I got everything.
And I'm going to post it as well.
Thank you.
After I'm looking at some of the comments, and I was looking at Jonathan. He must have came. Jonathan, you must have came in a little late, because then when you said it again, he's like, "Woof!" Like he's like, yeah, he missed the beginning, and then he heard the end. And he's like, "Amen." Thanks, Marley, for joining us. Annette, thanks for joining us. Winter, thanks for joining us. Yeah, right. And that powerful, powerful, powerful story. I mean, I just think it's so powerful. But I think it's, you know, just you're coming through it is amazing in more ways than one, you know. You went through it so fast. We had 30 minutes. You went through it so fast. But I was like ready to, like I said, to stop you in the beginning and ask you like a couple questions. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just enthralled by your story, because you went through and we're like, yeah, I was this, that, and the other. And then I was shot 4 times. And yeah, and then now I'm back, and now I'm a recovery coach. And I'm like,
well, look, I'm here for it. If you got time, I got time.
Well,
What other pressing question do you have?
I mean, I'm just really want to know like more about like I said confidence, but I want to know more about, I'm thinking like that inner strength, you know, like where in the heck? I mean, you went through
it's God. It's really like, God, TERRAN. You know, for real, seriously. I could sit down. Don't get me wrong. I sat around and I battled some depressing moments. I had some low self-esteem issues. I thought that things weren't going right. I thought God had left me. But then again, when you sit back and
ever think to yourself, I want to get revenge?
Yes, in the beginning. I can be transparent and say that. Yes, I did. But then God's vengeance is the best vengeance. And my whole thing is, it would be just my luck, because of the way God is set up, that the minute I go and do something, I'll be the one to get caught. And another thing I could share with you, since you just mentioned that, was all throughout my 15 years, I never called the police. The first time I called the police is when he threw me out and I had to get a restraining order. But that day that we were getting into it, when he threw me out of the house, we were actually about to get into an altercation. And I had a weapon in my hand. And hindsight is 20/20, but I thought about it. If I would have done anything physically to harm him, and being as vindictive as he was then, maybe still is, I don't know, because we have no communication whatsoever. But as vindictive as I knew he was to be at that time, if I had did anybody harm him, I know without a shadow of a doubt that ninja, and I said ninja, would have had me arrested and thrown in jail. Or if I would have haphazardly murdered him or killed him, I would have went to jail. There was no record of him doing anything ever to me. That would have been hard for me to prove it, and you wouldn't know who I was right now. So when I think about revenge, yeah, it sounds good in theory, but I have too much to look for. I had a family who was behind me 100%, that loved me. I had to stop people that love me from actually trying to do something, because my thing is too, you know, it's a domino effect. I would never want anybody to go to jail or do something because of a decision that I made years ago by being involved with somebody that after 2 years or so, I should have known I shouldn't have been involved with you. And I made the decision to stay.
You had a lot of, is it forethought? Is it guidance? You know, like wisdom. Maybe I'm thinking of wisdom. You know, because I feel like going through that. And the reason why I asked that question is it seems like just in the moment and going through it, that's all I can think of for you, you know, is, I mean, if I feel that way, I can imagine you must have had moments where you felt that way. And I think you had this wisdom in you not to do the things that you were just mentioning, that you know what I mean, knew like, okay, if I do this, this is going to cause this domino effect, and this is going to be what happens to my family.
No, that wasn't when it happened. I mean, I think that day I probably would have. It wasn't until after the fact that I had the epiphany. But my whole thing is, it was more self-defense for me at the same time, because he had a weapon in his hand too. It was a beer bottle, as opposed to me having a knife. But again, if it would have been so much so they couldn't tell that he really had did anything to me, or there was no reason. Even if they would have took both of us to jail, I still would have had to have a record, because I was defending myself. That's foolishness. I have to keep reminding myself, and I tell people all the time, you know, they taking kids at 16 and 17 and charging them with adult crime right now. So even if you fighting people, you know, that's not juvenile no more. You getting charged as an adult. You might want to think about decisions that we make because they have long-term effects on your life. And I know sometimes things happen where we're quick-tempered. They happen in the heat of the moment. I just tell people, if you can avoid situations altogether, do your best to avoid them, period. I'm not going to say that I didn't do some underhanded, dirty stuff and some stuff I probably don't need to talk about on social media while I was married, because my ex-husband was also a habitual cheater. I mean, it's so much to the story.
No. I'm like, oh my gosh, you'll be back.
You have to read the book and just really get into it. But I'm very transparent about what I will say is this. I do now. Nobody at all. Now hear me clearly. I don't want nobody going back and misquoting me and saying I said something wrong. Nobody has the right to put their hands on you in a harmful manner. If they're not putting their hands on you in a loving manner, there's no way they should be touching you. Hear me. However, there are times when we know that the person that we're dealing with, that they have buttons that we shouldn't push. Sometimes we push those buttons on purpose. Sometimes we push them buttons on accident. And when you push those buttons on purpose, sometimes, I'm not going to say you deserve what you get, but you got to be careful what you're walking yourself into. That's one. Two, for me personally, and this is what I tell people, and again, this is Renee 1-1. This is my Bible. I made the decision to stay. So as much as I blame him for putting his hands on me and being disrespectful and abusing me and making me feel some kind of way and all that other good stuff, no matter why I stayed, I still had a choice to leave. Now, mind you, fear, embarrassment, judgment, covenant with God, all those things are what kept me there until I got to the point where R. Kelly song became my anthem. I became fed up. And when I became fed up, there was nothing anybody could do about it. That's why I say you have to make a decision. And you have to make a decision and stand by your decision. Once my mind was made up, I didn't care. Honestly, when I made up my mind in July of 2008 that I was done, that I didn't want to be in it anymore, that I was ready to leave, and I just wanted to figure out how to get out, didn't know how I was going to get out. I prayed to God for an exodus. My exodus came by the way of me getting thrown out. However, from July to October, I was looking for jobs. I was trying to save up extra money. I was looking for apartments because I was just done and I was out of it. However, when that stuff comes up, you have to be very, very careful and calculated because they're just as sinister and they will try to change your mind at the same time. But I made the decision to stay for whatever reason. So some of that stuff, unfortunately, I say for me, in my situation, I'm not putting this on anybody else. I brought that stuff on myself. Again, regardless of why I stayed, until I made up my mind before then, I take responsibility for my part in it because I thought something was going to happen to me. But in July, I didn't care anymore. I tell people all the time, if he would have killed me from the time I walked out the door till I died, whether it be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, those were the best 5 minutes of my life from the time the abuse started until I made up my mind to leave. It's a peace that comes when it's such a peace that comes when you have understanding. Yeah. And that you're tired and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you don't even care anymore. Yeah. I was concerned about my family, yes, but thought about Renee, it didn't matter anymore. I just wanted out. Yeah. And if out meant death, then so be it. And I wasn't trying to speak death on myself when the person tried to kill me. Now, don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is at that time when I left out, when I walked out that door, when he said, get out, if he would have decided to do something then, I was okay in that moment because I was free. You had finally, and we'll end with this, but it sounds like to me, you had actually finally gotten your peace. Most definitely. You know, no matter how at that point you thought it was going to come, you had finally gotten your peace. Yes, ma'am. Which I think, well, Renee, I can't wait to give you a big old post-COVID hug. I know, hugs.
I want to thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to listening now, and going to listen in the future to make sure you find Renee. And I'm going to post some information about her upcoming events and on my story and my page and all that good stuff. Renee, you heard it here, is going to tell me how to use Clubhouse.
Yes, I am.
So we've actually spoken that into existence, because I don't know.
We're going to do some rooms together and everything. We're going to moderate some rooms together. We're going to get these people on here. So everybody, if y'all not on Clubhouse, Tara, what's your Clubhouse handle?
The same. I am TERRAN Lamp. I'm on all social media at I am TERRAN Lamp.
Okay. So you guys go to Clubhouse, whether you have an Android or iPhone, find I am Tara Lamb, and then find Y Renee Cooper, and you follow both of us. And what you do is then you hit the notification bell, so anytime we come on, we'll pop up in your news feed. But we'll be pinging you in for these conversations. So the same conversations that she's having on here, we're gonna be having on Clubhouse, and we're gonna kick it and have fun and get a whole bunch of comments and people coming in talking with us.
And I can't wait. I mean, I can't wait to figure out how to use it all. Well, thank you so much, Renee. I'm going to give you a buzz after this.
Okay.
This will be posted on my everything, and then you're going to get a copy of it as well. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I know we went a little over. I'm just enthralled with Renee's story, so thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for checking it out on YouTube, on prior episodes. Make sure you follow here, and we'll be back. Me too, Annette.
Thank you for connecting us, Annette. We love you.
I know. We do love you, girl. We love you. Make sure you're following here. We'll be back next Tuesday with another exciting episode of the TERRAN Lamp Show. We are signing off. Be good to yourself and each other. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.